This question was answered in the blood with the death of over 700,000 lives. This wound cleansed a path to a future hope as the people of the United States strive to understand your challenge to love our neighbor. It was in such a hope and promise that the 9th and 10th Cavalry Regiments, the Buffalo Soldiers, were formed. They set a path to full reconciliation and understanding of the promise you made this nation, that all people are created equal, and that the scripture might be fulfilled. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first great commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. On behalf of Mr. Greg Thompson and the entire Fort Leavenworth community, welcome to our ceremony. We would like to welcome the following distinguished guests to the ceremony this morning. General Gary M. Brito, Commanding General, Training and Doctrine Command. The Honorable Jeff Pittman, State Representative, Kansas, 5th District. The Honorable David Bueller, Kansas State House of Representatives, District 40. The Honorable Timothy Johnson, Kansas State House of Representatives, District 38. The Honorable Lynn Melton, Kansas State House of Representatives, District 36. The Alexander Madison Chapter of the Kansas City Buffalo Soldiers. The Greater Kansas City Leavenworth Area Chapter of the 9th and 10th Cavalry Association, the Friends of the Richard Allen Cultural Center and Museum, and the Friends of the Frontier Army Museum, Buffalo soldiers, general officers, commanders, command sergeants majors, directors, family and friends of the Buffalo Soldiers Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Trooper George Pettigrew.
General Brito, distinguished guests, Colonel Mosier, Ms. Beal, and all of our friends. Buffalo Soldier is about character. It is not about the characteristics. The shake the shackles of the trope about the hair and the buffalo robe that gave us our name of distinction in an email. I received the following after an NPR interview that I was a part of. Quote, "My ancestors had no name to talk about their experience and first contact with the melanin-rich black people. They observed how tough and hardy black people were and named them for a pantheon of token attributes. And the buffalo most closely embodied who they were looking at. So depending on the tribe, the buffalo has different attributes. Some tribes' considerations are courageous, leaders, warriors. I haven't heard which tribe coined the term, but assuredly if you say buffalo people at a powwow, everyone will get who you're talking about. Signed, unknown, but that was from a Native American response to that interview. It was most likely hot and wet on August 1st, 1867. The Union Pacific Railroad part of the Transcontinental Line reached Campbell's Camp, now known as Victoria, Kansas. It's just 11 miles east of Fort Hays, when word was received at the fort that the railroad crew had been killed. 30 troopers of the 10th Cavalry Company F were dispatched to the site. Following the north branch of the Big Creek in pursuit of the Cheyenne warriors, no signs could be found. The troops returning to the opposite side of the creek and back to Campbell's Camp, where a request for more troops was sent to Fort Hays. Company F waited until daylight, and with no sign of reinforcements, from there the troops rode north to the Saline River. Captain Arms and 30 troopers followed the Saline River west for about 15 miles when they found themselves surrounded and ambushed. There were 75 Cheyenne warriors against those 30 troopers. The battle was in two different areas before retreating to Fort Hays. During that battle, 6 Cheyenne were killed, and Sergeant William Christie from Pennsylvania was shot in the head and killed. The first combat for any of the black regiments that would go on to be called Buffalo Soldiers. This elusive battle location has only in the last few years been confirmed by the Kansas State archaeologist, Dr. Nikki Clairman of the Kansas State Historical Society. 100 period artifacts were found over a 40-acre area in northwest Kansas along the Saline River. Given what we now know, this proves why we were the first and only soldiers given the nickname of a buffalo. First time in battle and outnumbered 2.5 to 1. No reinforcement with losses of 6 to our 1. If they say it is the hair, remind them of what they did under that hair. Character makes the difference. The popular story about the name Buffalo Soldier having roots in the appearance of our skin tone and hair denies the courage in the Battle of the Saline River and many others in years to come. Focusing on characteristics of these brave soldiers, many fresh out of being enslaved, denied the actions and character of those brave soldiers underneath that hair. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the host for today's ceremony, Mr. Thompson.
George is a lot taller than me. That happens a lot. So, hey, listen, I appreciate the comments that say I'm hosting this event today. I am doing that, obviously. But really, I'm here on behalf of Lieutenant General Beagle, who, if he had his druthers, would absolutely be here hosting this event. It's a duty that kind of calls him to Fort Novosel to oversee a change of command of one of our centers of excellence. But I guarantee you, and we've talked about it, that if he could be here for this celebration with this distinguished group that we celebrate with every year, I know for a fact this was where he would be. So it's my great pleasure in that role to thank all of you for coming and supporting Buffalo Soldier Day with us here on historic Fort Leavenworth. I know, you were expecting to see the boss, and I appreciate you putting up with me for a minute or two. You'll have to bring that up with General Barreto. He may have had something to do with where he is today, right? And so, but if you haven't met me or we haven't met, I'm sorry, but I am Greg Thompson. I'm General Beagle's deputy here at the Combined Arms Center, and a great honor for me to be a part of this distinguished event. Before we kind of get into introductions, last year we kind of did this ceremony in the room. We had a great turnout. It was terrific. People kind of went over to the monument and kind of took pictures and did all of that. It was terrific. What we tried to do this year with the great support of our garrison and some of our staff, with the cooperation of the Buffalo Soldier chapter and Trooper Pettigrew, was kind of expand the experience, right? I want to thank the hard work of our teams that I just mentioned, including the Munson Army Health Center, Army Corrections Brigade, and the 312th Army Band. Today's event includes not just the ceremony I described, but also additional artifacts, walking tours of the monuments, tours in our museum, and kind of a self-paced wayside tour through the use of QR codes. And so if you have any questions about that, find someone from our garrison. They'll tell you all about it, right? But I just want you to know that we've tried to kind of expand the experience today in celebration of the incredible legacy of these two cavalry regiments, so that while you're with us on Fort Leavenworth, you can take advantage of much more than we've previously kind of tried to do. And so thank you for joining us today on a beautiful day and kind of celebrate the tremendous history we have at Fort Leavenworth here on the edge of the frontier. And now it's my great honor to introduce General Gary Brito. General Brito assumed duties as the 18th Commanding General of the United States Army Training Doctrine Command on September 8th of 2022. He is a distinguished leader with over 3 decades of service. General Brito has held various key positions across the Army. His leadership at TRADOC is pivotal in shaping the Army's future, ensuring that soldiers are well prepared for modern warfare. Known for his commitment to excellence, and we can all attest to that here at Fort Leavenworth, General Brito continues to drive the evolution of Army training and doctrine to enhance our readiness and our warfighting effectiveness. So, if you spend a lot of time with General Beagle, you know there are a lot of isms. One is be brief, and be seated. And so, it's my great pleasure to introduce General Gary Brito.
I'm a little taller than Greg, so I'll pull this up a bit. But thank you, Mr. Thompson, for those kind words and welcome. Mrs. Beagle, thank you as well. Sergeant Major Helton, Sergeant Major Collins, and my former commander, Perry Wiggins, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I could continue on down the road, but to all of our distinguished leaders, supporting family members and community, thank you for being here. Mr. Pettigrew, thank you for those warm remarks and setting the stage for why we're really here today, to include a very warm welcome to all the association members here as well. Again, it was mentioned, before I go any further, I know many did receive an invitation, a handwritten invitation from our friend, General Beagle, to be here today with him. I will tell you up front, the schedules and demands on the general officer are often very unpredictable, so I did have to send him on a tasking, which he mentioned. But I was coming here as well, so he is definitely here in spirit, sitting right next to me, and we were exchanging emails both last night and today. And he did arrive down there safely to bring on a new commander in one of his centers of excellence, our centers of excellence. So again, thank you for being here. You can blame me for his absence, but we'll continue as well. It is absolutely an honor to be here to celebrate this remarkable legacy of Buffalo soldiers in our United States Army, which goes back many, many decades, in fact, centuries, as most of us know today. And they are clearly represented by you, friends and descendants also, some of the most heroic soldiers that our Army has seen. It is indeed an honor to be here just a few days ahead of the official Buffalo Soldier Day this coming Sunday. And certainly these men, back then, left an indelible legacy that all soldiers should strive to emulate, to include soldiers like myself still serving in uniform. These men made up the initial regiments of the Buffalo Soldiers, and today continue to give us all an example to strive for. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Those are our Army values today. But I will share with all of you that in 1866, the Army values might not have been described like they are today, but the Buffalo Soldiers that served embodied each and every one of these principles. They were committed to the Army values, committed more importantly to values of patriotism and something to wake up and put your boots on for. And they did that despite possibly being in an environment where some of those same values may have not been reciprocated, but they charged on as well. They displayed these values on the Western frontier and through their service in every major U.S. conflict up to and including the Korean War. And many of you have read the history just as I have, and you know that Buffalo Soldiers of the storied 9th and 10th Regiments, many, many decades later, also trained cadets at the United States Military Academy, West Point, on what would be known as horse-mounted drills and tactics, a skill set that served them well in the decades following. These remarkable men that did that training were the right people at the right time to strengthen and protect our country and train our future leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, coincidentally, about 2.5 years ago, I actually had the pleasure to attend a ceremony at West Point unveiling a monument in tribute of these trainers. It was indeed an honor for these soldiers and simply an amazing and very appropriate tribute. And actually, I think the artist of that monument is tied to the one here as well. So I could not possibly list all the heroic accomplishments of the Buffalo Soldiers and the impacts they had on our Army, country, and our profession, to include 30 Medal of Honor recipients. However, if you allow me, I will share just but a few examples, some of which have been mentioned today, all of which are represented in the artwork we have in this room this morning. Men like Private Fitz Lee, a member of the storied 10th Cav Regiment here at Fort Leavenworth. He was awarded a Medal of Honor for his actions in the Spanish-American War. And as you know, today Lee House, the home of the Mission Command Training Program, is named for him. And so is the Post Theater that I ran by this morning. Not as fast as I used to run, but I ran by this morning. A little bit uphill, I'll blame that. Many, many years later, he was buried with full military honors right here in Fort Leavenworth. And also humbled men like Sergeant George Jordan, a member of the 9th Cav Regiment, who many, many, many years ago was born into slavery and enlisted in the Army in 1866 at the ripe young age of 19. At that time, he only earned $13 a month. But the Army offered opportunities to many African Americans back then, and that $13 probably seemed like a great fortune. It offered African Americans access to a civilian life and a professional life, along with a hope through their sacrifice that they would be respected and recognized as Americans. Put that in some context. Sergeant Jordan continued to serve, learned to read and write while serving, and he demonstrated fierce dedication to his unit and the Army, often in the face of extreme prejudice. Because of his actions, he was awarded the Medal of Honor for stubbornly holding his exposed position, protecting the detachment which he loved from an overwhelming number of enemy forces. Sergeant Jordan continued to serve and eventually retired from the United States Army and became a successful landowner in Nebraska, recognized and respected. While soldiers today don't face the exact challenges that Sergeant Jordan and others faced over a lifetime, soldiers serving now and those who have done this before continue to join the Army for for the opportunities it can provide and create, despite the conditions that you may serve in. It does it and does it well. Buffalo Soldiers have distinguished themselves in every undertaking, including their impact on the establishment of the United States. Often stationed in only company troop-sized units, Buffalo Soldiers, as mentioned by Mr. Pettigrew, conducted missions that proved critical to the security and the expansion of our fledgling country, as well as repairing military telegraphs, constructing new roads, guarding essential water holes, escorting wagons and survey parties. Those little less desirable missions that no longer, clearly made our Army serve well and created that Western expansion we needed. So if you want to talk about contributions, those are about just a few. And the dedication and the sacrifice of those Buffalo Soldiers clearly, full font, underlined, deserve a place in military history. I once read, the highest human act is to inspire. In addition to the services on the Western frontier, our history shows us, and we all know, that Buffalo Soldier service was instrumental to our nation's success in many, many, many wars. A few I have mentioned: the Spanish-American War, World War I and II, and the Korean War. The service of these soldiers, from a diverse and varied background, continues to inspire us today. And ladies and gentlemen, fast forward the clock through Executive Order 9981, which, by the way, was signed today, 76 years ago. Executive Order 9981 directed the desegregation of the military. Lineage from the Buffalo Soldier Regiment is carried on in the 1st Cavalry Division, 4th Infantry Division, and the 25th Infantry Division, as recognition of their instrumental role in the success in the building of the Army, its Army strength, and our country as well. Now, team, I have provided excerpts of several Medal of Honor winners, but if you will allow me, I would like to fast forward a bit to present day. Truth in lending, this one is a bit personal, in that I had the honor of serving in combat with an ordinary soldier who did extraordinary things. A platoon sergeant by the name of Sergeant First Class Alwyn C. Cash from Oviedo, Florida, outside of Sanford. A great soldier, a great non-commissioned officer who happened to be African American. I will forego the details of what occurred on 17 October 2005. You can look it up. But on the 16th of December 2021, Sergeant First Class Cash, through his family, was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor by President Joe Biden. This made him the 93rd African-American soldier to receive the nation's highest honor. I had the pleasure of being at that ceremony, and I'm at a loss of words right now. He truly earned it and earned his place in history for our Army and for African-American soldiers as well. I only share this, team, because our military history is as rich now, present day, as it was in the 1800s, when these soldiers crossed the plains of the Midwest. History written on the shoulders of many before us and carried on today by ordinary soldiers like Sergeant First Class Cash. And I am very confident, no doubt, that there will be future chapters written in our history as well, from soldiers like him who continue to serve. I, along with a host of service members, and really, team, our modern nation stands on the enormous shoulders of Buffalo soldiers. For those in the audience who may be the descendants of Buffalo soldiers, or just some that admire the history, please know that the path that they paved, the history that they contributed to, opened opportunities for many soldiers just like me, soldiers just like Sergeant First Class Cash. And our Army will continue to carry the mantle for many years to come. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you so much for allowing me to spend some time with you today as we honor the remarkable legacy of the Buffalo Soldiers. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join in the singing of the Army Song. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the Buffalo Soldier Day ceremony. Please take advantage of the Buffalo Soldier storytelling located at the Buffalo Soldier Monument Park and the museum tour located at the Frontier Army Museum. Also, you will find a map with landmarks within the program for a self-paced tour of Fort Leavenworth. Thank you all for attending.